Hello and welcome to the Tangle of the Day. My name is Amy Lilien-Harper and I am a certified Zentangle instructor as well as one of the children's librarians at the Wilton Library. And I'm here to teach you a tangle today. Today we're going to do a tangle I really like. It's called Huggins and I will be showing you that in just a minute. As you probably know, Zentangle method has 8 steps, and the first step is gratitude and appreciation. And embedded in that, I always ask my students to take a few deep breaths, get themselves into a comfortable position, and get themselves in a good headspace to do this. So I will ask you to go ahead and do that. You can feel free to pause the video while you're doing that and then rejoin me. And once you've done that, we're going to get started. Before we start, I'm just going to show you what I'm working on. So this is a bijou tile. It is a small tile. You can see how small it is compared to my hand. And it is roughly a quarter the size of a standard size tile, which is this one. And we're working on these small tiles because they allow us to complete a full tangle in a short period of time. All right, and I'm going to be starting off with my pencil. I have a Micron 01 pen here that I'm going to be inking with. I have a tortillon, which is my blending tool. I use that to shade, but you can use your finger, you can use a Q-tip, you can use a rolled up piece of paper, whatever works for you. And I have this little Zentangle pencil. This is a soft lead pencil. If you don't have one of these, you can use any soft lead pencil. I'll be using that primarily for shading, but the first step after gratitude and appreciation in Zentangle is to create our corner dots. So I'm going to create 4 dots, one in each corner of my tile, and I am leaving a bit of space because this tangle we're going to do is going to invade our external space a little bit, and I want to make sure there's room. So that's about how far in that I am putting those dots. And you'll notice that I'm rotating the tile as I go because it allows me to keep my hand in a comfortable position and make my lines consistent. And now that we've completed our 4 corner dots, we're going to go ahead and create a border. And you're just going to connect your dots into a line. And you're going to do all of your pencil work nice and light because the pencil work is really just there as a guide. It is not the main idea. It's to give us a space to work in, to take away the blank page, and to give us a little bit of structure, and that's all. Okay, now normally what we would do next is create a string. I'm not going to create a true string, but I am going to create something resembling a string in this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot right in the center of each of my lines so that I now have 3 dots across. And then I'm going to put one more dot right in the middle. Now, the tangle we're going to do today is called Huggins, and it can be done much bigger than this, but it is essentially done in sort of a grid space. And so that we have our space set up, I went ahead and did those dots. You don't have to, but I find that it helps guide me to sort of pre-plan when that is my main tangle on a tile like this. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my pencil away and I'm going to start with the ink. And what I'm going to do is I am going to draw an orb. We don't call them circles because they are not going to be perfectly round because we are humans, not machines. And I'm going to put one sort of where each of my original dots were. And you can see I'm actually working sort of at the corner here because I want to move in a little bit, but this middle one is going to kind of just encircle that one. And then this one's also going to come to the edge a bit, and I'm making them roughly the same size, but not exactly because I am human and cannot make them exactly the same size, but you can see they're about half the length of my pen there. And you can make these larger or smaller, but this is a good size for this small space. Now that I've made my circles or my orbs, I'm going to start to connect them. And this is the part of this tangle that requires a lot of concentration. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my takeoff and land, which means I'm sort of going to retrace what I've done. So I'm going to start about here on my orb, and I'm going to retrace my line and I'm going to make sort of a C shape that comes to the second orb and retraces the line. So I create this shape, which to me always looks a little bit like an old-fashioned telephone. Now that I've done that, I'm going to actually turn my tile over and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to start here and I'm going to retrace my orb. I'm going to create this sort of a gentle C shape and retrace my other orb. So I now have something that looks similar to an H if my H didn't have a bar across. And now this is where it gets complicated because what we need to do is kind of alternate. So I'm going to go back to here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a similar thing, but it's going to go the opposite direction. The way I keep track is that I look at where my curve is and I don't want to cross my curve. So if I did exactly the same thing that I had done here, I would retrace this line and I would cross right over that line. But I don't want to cross over that line. I need to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to retrace and I'm going to make that telephone shape going the opposite direction. So it's sort of like I'm linking a chain. And then I'm going to do that same thing on this side. Now, I would be starting down here, but that's not comfortable for me. I like to start from the top, but I know that I don't want to go this way because if I do, I will cross over this line and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to come back to my top. I'm going to retrace my orb. I'm going to come around and retrace my orb. So now I have two sort of going this way and two going that way. Now I need to finish off this side. So what we need to do is always make them facing the sort of the opposite direction. So this one's going this way, so the one across from it also needs to create that H shape again. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start here, I'm going to retrace, I'm going to loop down and retrace. So there I have that H shape again. And now I'm going to actually not turn this over. And now I need to make this one go the opposite direction. So if I go this way, I'm going to cross over. I don't want to do that. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to retrace and come up to here. And there we go. So now we have this. Now we're going to rotate our tile and we're going to create those same shapes again in this space. Now at this point, it's easier to keep track of what direction you want to go because you have everything all blocked out. So I know on this one, I don't want to go this way because that'll cross over all these lines. I don't want to cross my lines. I start here, I retrace that shape, I come around, and then I retrace that. And then with this one here, I'm going to do that same thing. I don't want to cross, so I'm going to retrace, loop in, and retrace. So there I've got that sort of H shape. And you can see we're starting to create a shape within there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just do this one because I think it's easy to see. So again, we want it to go this way. So I'm going to retrace, loop down, and retrace. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to retrace from here, loop down, and retrace. Okay, and now I just have two more spots. So I need to close off these tops of these columns. And again, if I go this way, I'm going to be crossing all these lines. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to retrace. I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to retrace. And then last but not least, I'm going to do this last one. And again, that one's going to go that same direction. I'm going to retrace, come out, and retrace. And now I have these four little columns. And you can do many, many more of these. Now, this is a completed form of Huggins, and I have used this version. I'm going to do a slightly more complicated version just so you can see it, but you are certainly welcome to work with just this, and this would be a completed Huggins except for shading. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more sort of stylization on there that I think is really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this space here, and you want to work inside sort of the narrow side. So this is sort of my H shape, and that's where I want to work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start up here, and I am going to aura this line I created. And then I'm going to turn this over so my hand can be in the same position, and I'm going to aura this line. Okay, and now I'm going to do this one. And again, I want to aura the insides of the H shape. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to aura this line, and I'm going to go ahead and aura this line. And now I'm going to turn my tile, and I want to aura inside here. So I'm going to aura this line, and I'm going to aura this line. And last but not least, I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to aura this line, and I'm going to aura this line. And now we've got auras in everything except the outside, and you can see that this end of this column appears to be auraed across its top because it's actually auraed inside. So now I'm going to actually go to these outer ones and aura them too. But because they're outside, I do them slightly differently. I'm going to retrace and then come out a little, and then aura, and then I'm going to come in and retrace. So it kind of tucks in. And I'm going to do that same thing on all my outer ones. So again, I'm going to aura like that. And when I get to the edge, I'm going to retrace. Get to this one, I'm going to retrace. I'm going to aura. I'm going to retrace. And then this last one, I'm going to retrace. I'm going to aura. And I'm going to retrace. And now I have them all auraed. What I like about this styling is that it allows you to put things inside of these spaces really nicely, and you can even color in the backgrounds and do all kinds of stuff inside them, and the auras delineate them from each other. If you don't aura them, you can still put stuff inside, but you don't get as much of sort of a border, and I like the way the border allows you to work inside it. But you don't have to. You can use this as just a background. It makes a lovely background. And sometimes when I use it as a background, especially if I work small, I don't aura it, but in this case I did. Okay, so we have completed our ink, and now we're going to shade. So I'm going to get my pencil. I'm going to hold my pencil at sort of an angle. You can see it's very small, so I tuck it right into my palm. And I'm not holding it up and down like you would normally hold a pencil. I'm holding it angled so that I can go ahead and shade using the side of my pencil. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just shade along these spaces. So this space here, kind of right next to my aura, is where I'm going to shade. I'm going to shade on that one. I'm going to shade on this one. I'm going to shade on this one. I'm going to shade on this one. And I'm going to shade on this one. And then I'm actually going to put a little bit around the outside as well. So I'm going to shade there. I'm going to shade there. I'm going to shade there. And you can see I'm just putting a little bit of lead down on each of those spaces. And I actually, when I do this because it's a monotangle and it's just in the space, I do like to aura the outside of the whole thing. But I only do that if I'm coming to the edge of the tile. Okay, and here, whoops, and I missed one, right? I didn't do this one. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my tortillon. This I'm also going to hold at an angle. It's really important you hold this at an angle. If you hold it up and down and push down, you're going to squish the tip in like 30 seconds. And I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to sort of draw that graphite out a little bit. I don't want to go in. I want to stay out. So I'm working sort of right in this space here and bringing it down. If I had done more, because this is such a small tile, I only did the 4, but if I had done more, it would be more pronounced, but you can see that where, oops, and I missed another one. Let's see, right here, I didn't do it. So let's put a little there. You can see that right where these cross over it starts to look as if it's woven, and these ones are on top of these ones. And now I'm going to just draw this out a little bit along the edges to give us a little more of a shadow. And then just a little bit around the edge, just to make it stand out. This tangle definitely takes some focus when you're learning it, but it's a lovely tangle. It makes a nice background. It makes a nice frame. You can use it and then tangle inside your spaces. So it's really a lovely tangle to work with. And there is Huggins, sorry. And I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to go ahead and sign it with my chalk, my initials. And I usually encourage my students to rotate until they find the position they like it in best. This is a pretty parallel one. It doesn't look all that different from side to side. So, and I'm realizing I thought I had noticed one more spot I should have shaded that I forgot. I forgot that spot. So let's do that spot too. There we go. And now I'm going to actually put my chop in. So I think it looks just fine, just like that. So I'm going to put my chop right here in this little space here. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to write the name of the tangle, which is Huggins, and it's just the way it sounds. And I am going to go ahead and date it. I like to date all my tangles so that I can keep track of when I made them. So today is, I think it's the 14th. And I'm going to sign it. And there you have it, our completed tangle of Huggins. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will continue on your tangle journey. And thank you so much for joining me.